The 3F UL Lanshan 2 has become a really popular tent because of its price point and its build quality. So I picked one up and let's take a look what it's like. So when it first arrives, it comes in this small stuff sack. It's okay, but it's only just big enough for the tent, so I decided to change it over to this black one instead. It's a 12 litre one from Xped. I'll link it down in the description if you want to pick it up. It just makes the tent much easier to pack and put away, especially in those early mornings. And obviously with this being a trekking pole tent, I'm going to need some trekking poles. So these are the ones I use, the Black Diamond carbon corks. I'll do a full review on these at some point, but for now we're going to use these to set the tent up today. The tent comes supplied with 8 pegs, and I'll do a little bit of a chat about those later on and tell you what I think. Mostly they're okay, but I'm going to make some upgrades. Okay, so this is a 2-man tent, but I intend to use it entirely by myself really, especially for the weight. It's not much of a payoff. Measures out at 210 by 110 centimeters. I'm 198 centimeters tall. I'm fairly tall, but I still managed to fit in this with plenty of room on my own, and maybe with the dog there along with me. Now this can be a little bit difficult to pitch the first few times you do it, so hopefully if you follow this guide, I'll help you out a little bit. I always like to start by pegging out the first 4 corners. This way I can see roughly how much space it's going to take up on the ground, and it also gives me a good start to start putting those trekking poles in and create a little bit of structure inside the tent. So when staking out your tent, you want to make sure that you use the orange side of the cord. You see that in the bottom corner of the screen now. There's an orange side and a grey side. The grey side goes closest to the tent and allows a lot of adjustment, and there's a hole on the orange side perfectly sized for your peg to allow you to get it in the ground. Make sure you're pulling out those shock cords from underneath, wrapping those around the pegs. That way you get a nice taut bathtub effect on the inner on the inside. So when setting up your trekking poles, you want to aim for about 120 centimeters or 47 inches. This is an ideal height to get the pitch of the tent right, so that it's not too far off the ground, you're not stretching any of those joints, but you still get a nice taut finish and plenty of room inside. Now it's worth noting that you can adjust the height of these in order to move the tent closer to the ground for bad weather. On the underside of the tent, just behind the black ventilation fabric, you will feel a slight reinforced patch. This is where your trekking pole wants to go. It's reinforced so that it doesn't cause any damage to the stitching with all the pressure that's going to be on that joint, with the weight of potentially wind blowing against it or water on the top of the canopy. When pegging out the doors, you're going to see this additional little loop that's already been tied into the guy rope. It's important that you don't untie this, because what this does is it allows you to tension the doors and the top of the tent irrespective of each other. Hopefully the small video in the corner makes more sense of that, but you'll soon see when you try and set this up yourself. As you can see, because of the design, there's a lot of stress on the stakes that hold the ridge line up. I think I'm going to change these out for some longer ones to make sure that this doesn't collapse on me in the middle of the night. And equally, those same stakes are holding the door out as well, so twice as much pressure is being put on them. And finally, we want to check all the corners to make sure we pull them nice and tight. This is why we leave plenty of room on those guy out points so that we can pull the tent to be as taut as we need to. This will stop it from collecting rain and flapping about in the wind. FUL have included this little double hook system on the doors. This means that you can open one door while leaving the other one nice and taut. It also means that you can pull both doors nice and taut when you're shutting up at night. It can be a little bit fiddly at first, but as you can see here, you soon get your head around it and it is fairly easy to use. The tent comes with these 2 additional guy lines that allow you to create more space inside the tent. Now I'm pretty tall, 6'6", 198 centimeters, so I need these and I need as much space as possible. They're fairly easy to peg out as you can see here, and they do create quite a lot of extra space inside. The main function is to increase the gap between the inner and the outer of the tent, and this is going to help to stop condensation from making its way into the inner of the tent inside that bathtub. Okay, so opening up the front of the tent then, we undo that little double hook system I just showed you. And you'll see that the tent door ties back to leave plenty of space in and out. You can tie both doors back if you want to, or just one door at a time. And like I say, the double hook system will prevent the other door from flapping around in the wind. When you get inside here, it's good to straighten up that trekking pole. There is a nice little loop at the base of the bathtub. You want to make sure that the point on the base of your trekking pole is firmly inside that loop and stuck in the ground. Opening up that inner door, you can see that it hangs so it doesn't drag in the mud or anything like that. And there's a door on each side of the tent as well as a vestibule on each side of the tent to store gear. The inner door ties back just like the outer door, so you can get plenty of ventilation in there before you go to sleep, or even leave it open if the night's good enough. And there you have it. As you can see from this video, I can pitch the tent in about 5 minutes and take it down even faster. This handy double skin design means there's plenty of room between the inner and the outer, and that prevents condensation from catching on the inner and making its way inside the bathtub. And as you can see on the inside, there's plenty of room for one adult, maybe a child or a dog, and plenty of room in there if you want to keep your gear inside as well. So if I just roll out a standard size roll mat here, you'll be able to see how much space there is inside. You could get 2 of these down if you really wanted to, but like I said, it would be a tight squeeze and I'm going to use this tent on my own. Plenty of room for one person, maybe a rucksack or a big backpack, your shoes, everything you need to get in there. That's it everyone, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you do subscribe. I'm going to try and put a few of these videos together, showing all the new gear I've bought for when we're finally allowed to go walking in the UK.